All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today and that it's been a great week. I have the dynamic Mel Preston. Today, she's highlighting her clinical therapy practice, but Mel is dynamic in the sense of she's a wonderful mom. She's a counselor. She is a woman of faith who helps guide and support her community. So, this title of therapist is one of many that she holds really well. So, I'm really excited to have her on today as we talk about mental health and how important it is um, in relationship to high blood pressure. So, Mel, you want to tell the folks about you and how you navigate?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Micah, for having me on today. As you've stated, my name is Melanie Preston. I'm a clinical therapist and also a relationship coach. Most people call me the relationship architect. So I spend a lot of time dealing with couples and dealing with every dynamic of relationships. So whether it is family, co-workers, colleagues, friends, romantic relationships, all the things. And we do all of that. I have a private practice called Matter of Focus Counseling, which has its main location in Evansville, Indiana. So we're licensed in both Indiana and Georgia. So glad to definitely be here. And I absolutely agree. A lot of times people think that there is this huge difference between your physical body and how your mind is combined with that, right? As if it's two separate things, and it's not. And I know we're talking about hypertension today. And as you said, we've both at this point had our personal journeys with that, where we've been able to really see just how, I know for me personally, just how my mental state, how my mental wellness has absolutely impacted at this point my blood pressure,
Right.
you know, and so sometimes we are unaware of just how we hold stress, how we hold issues, how we, as especially as women, we're always in this, well, I need to be strong and do all the things, but we're unaware of how that wears on our bodies. So I'm excited to have that conversation today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you guys, if you have questions or comments that come up, I know we're on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Just drop us a note, say hi, let us know where you're from. If you have any specific questions related to mental health support and high blood pressure, what we'll be addressing today, please don't hesitate to drop us a note. So I see Shay over on Facebook says hello. We will say hello and hope that you are able to get some fantastic information from today. Glad to have you. Um, so yeah, I want to talk about mental health and like just in practice as a naturopathic physician and licensed acupuncturist, especially over the last 2.5, 3 years that we've been, going through the pandemic. The uptick, the increase in the number of folks who are presenting with, anxiety, depression, who are being exacerbated by like the lockdown and that creating more of a profound presentation for them, but also seeing, that related to their blood pressure being increased, right? So, Mel, can you tell us a little bit about just what you've seen in clinical practice, as it relates to the pandemic or just in general, where you're seeing that connection between the mental, emotional, and then that physical presentation?
So, I think it goes far beyond just the pandemic, right? I do some work with smaller organizations as far as trying to help them develop um, really customized EAP plans, or just where they are able to offer emotional wellness or in coaching benefits to their clients, or their employees. And even when we look at just the amount of time people miss from work
Mm-hmm.
as it relates to physical illness,
Right.
right? But usually, if I'm talking to someone, there are other things that have presented themselves, such as maybe stress on the job,
Mm-hmm.
or they work, a third shift, or they work a third shift. I'll use this one as an example because it comes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They work this odd shift, which then brings stress into the relationship because there is a partner who is asking and wanting, time, quality time,
Mm-hmm.
attention, to spend time together. There are kids who want mom or want dad to be, available. And there is a lack of balance, right? And then on top of that, there is the possible tension of, well, my boss doesn't understand.
Right.
Those are the things they may talk to me about on the mental health side, is how they're challenged with balancing these things, right? But then the more we're talking, they're also mentioning that their blood pressure is now high.
Mm-hmm.
They are not sleeping.
Right.
A lot of times their weight increases because they are sedentary, or because of, say, fluctuations with work schedules. They're not eating as they are supposed to. Another example would be individuals who are maybe on a different side of that, who have lost employment during the pandemic,
Right.
right? And where maybe they could afford to grocery shop every week and buy organic or buy healthier foods, well, their income has been limited.
Right.
So there's then the stress of, I can't provide, I can't support my family the way I used to,
Mm-hmm.
and my money is now funny, which means we're spending a lot more time at a drive-through. We're eating more canned, processed foods,
Mm-hmm.
which then in turn increases the potential to be overweight,
Right.
and to have those other issues. So there are a plethora of different meshes,
Right.
the in on the mental health side, that don't even present as, say, a mental health issue.
Right.
But when you really start to dive into it, it's never that black or white.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a combination and a domino effect. So
Right.
the way we react emotionally and mentally, the domino effect is what that in turn, how it in turn affects our physical body.
Right. Yep. Yep, you're absolutely right. So the scaffolding and the layers that you speak of, it just reminded me of the determinants of health when we talk about medicine, right? So
Hmm.
all of those things that go into how we exist in the world. So when we talk about financial health, we talk about environmental health, we talk about politics and how that might shape the way that we feel and experience life on a day-to-day basis. And so because a lot of those things have been upended, they've been turned upside down. I tell my patients all the time, the stressors, there's no way that we can eliminate external stress.
Absolutely.
It's always going to be there. But for us, where we can play a role and where we can make a difference is how we respond to and how we manage the stress, right? Which
Hmm.
is where mental health support, the physical activity, being less sedentary is going to be helpful. But that can be hard again, that those determinants of health are all skewed and we have things like depression that set in, so that motivation to get things done is going to be severely limited or restricted, right?
Hmm.
So, what are some ways that you've been able to help, like, jumpstart motivation? And we can just, talk about your top three things that have been helpful to just kind of get people moving, get them going again.
So, and I always start by saying, I know you're not going to like it.
Yes.
However, the research just doesn't lie.
Right.
First and foremost, is always going to be physical activity.
Hmm.
The kickback is, oh well, I don't feel like it. I don't have the energy. Um,
Right.
and so, start small. Set a small physical goal.
Hmm.
So instead of, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times a week. Well, you're not used to going any day of the week. So maybe let's start with 2 days, or let's just do one day. And if there is an additional day you just feel up to it, okay,
Hmm.
that's a bonus.
Right.
Right. And then giving yourself grace even when you are at the gym, or, even finding creative ways
Hmm.
to uh, get in, that physical activity,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's, you like being outdoors, and you want to go walk in the park. So
Hmm.
I I always have people like, okay, let's go through your day, right? Especially if it's a sedentary job,
Yeah.
and maybe putting in 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, just while you're at work. Just get up and walk. If there are stairs in your building, just walk the stairs, put on some music, but just give yourself a chance to get away
Hmm.
and to just kind of unplug from it all. So physical activity is by far um, the number one.
Hmm.
I say secondly, after that, especially if you just cannot seem to become motivated at all, I'm gonna suggest a follow up with your PCP or your primary care physician to have some blood work done. Sometimes, we do see that there are other factors at play. There are thyroid issues. There are, a number of things that really can compound what's already going on, right?
Hmm.
So we never want to overlook that. That's why I'm a huge believer in integrated behavioral health, which
Right.
means we're not just including the mental health aspect, but we are collabing and we are having those conversations, and we are advocating that our therapy patients go back and, hey, like, let's fill your physician in. Does your physician know that this part is going on as well? Or does your physician know that you're not taking this medication consistently,
Right.
right? So sometimes, we have to start there. So the physical activity, checking in with your PCP. I also always ask individuals to find at least one person, you can partner with. Just one person, right? That you can share, that you can be vulnerable with, even if it takes that person to perhaps get you motivated to do the physical activity.
Absolutely.
Right. Because at the end of the day, your therapist, your primary care physician, we're not with you every day of the week. We can't hold your hand and say, hey, it's time to go to the gym. Hey, you need to get up and take a break. Right. So having
Right.
an accountability partner,
All
you know what
very,
I'm saying?
very important.
Yeah. Having an accountability partner, and giving yourself, I'm big on grace.
Hmm.
As simple as it is, we often want these enormous amounts of change in a small amount of time,
Yes.
without really understanding, Rome wasn't built in a day. Your life didn't become the way it is in a day. And
Right.
so the same way in which it took time to get where we are, it will take time to relearn, retrain, pick up new habits, so giving grace, and we celebrate the small things.
Awesome. Awesome. Those are all like wonderful points. Like I'm ready to get up outside and go for a run myself. Jeez, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm typing up all of the tips that Mel shared, and I want to piggyback off of them just a little bit,
Hmm.
to talk about the physiology behind it, but obviously getting active, that's going to help with decreasing those cortisol levels. So it's going to help move you from that sympathetic system being overdriven, right,
Hmm.
which in turn is going to increase your blood pressure. It's going to
Hmm.
dial that back some, so your body's going to be more in a resting and digesting state, right?
Hmm.
And then absolutely, PCP, your doctor, your naturopathic physician, whoever is at the helm of your care, and patients will, patients that I see for acupuncture, and they're not a part of the legacy program. I'm telling them consistently, if I see something off, these are the labs that you need to draw to get
Hmm.
done. Like, this will help move that needle towards the space where you want to be. So absolutely checking in with your PCP, making sure that you have those preventative health screenings done, your mammography, your colonoscopies,
And that it's been a
um,
great
keep
week.
those things consistent and on time. Okay.
Hmm.
And then
Right.
last but not least, that accountability partner. Again, we were created physiologically to be amongst others. So that village mentality that lowers our our stress hormones, and it increases that serotonin and dopamine. So again, as we move out of you know it's so hard as we fluctuate, going back and forth from, social distancing, physical distancing. Even if we can go for a walk with someone and you still have that distance between you, you still have that accountability person there with you.
Right.
So those are all really fantastic tips. So I really appreciate you.
You are
I
so welcome.
do. I do. Can you tell us more about how we can find you, and yeah, just where you are in these social media streets? Because I know
So
you're there.
so in these social media streets, you can follow our practice at Matter of Focus Counseling, and that's on both Instagram and Facebook. As for personal pages on Instagram, it is the official underscore Mel Preston. And on Facebook, honestly, it's something weird. So just type in Melanie Preston and it'll pull me up.
Awesome. Yes, yes. And then I have Mel's website information here, so I'm going to share that. But remember those tips that she shared, um, fantastic things that you can do today that can, again, give you a more positive impact on your mental health, but also positively impact your blood pressure as well.
Right.
So, again, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I forgot to mention one more thing.
Yeah.
So, a girlfriend and I, we also have a podcast called
Okay.
Trashed It, which is also a female brand. And it just so happens that our last episode was me sharing my personal journey
Mhm.
with high blood pressure and mental health from a personal perspective, and how I had to have a village,
Right.
of girlfriends that were able to say, hey, this is not okay. And even though, you think you've done the work and you think you have it, you've done the things, these are things you still weren't able to identify.
Right.
And so they can also check that out. So we are on any of your podcast platforms. It's called Trashed It. We are on social media at We Trashed It. So definitely check out the personal story there as well, because sometimes we don't know, we are unaware of how our body is reacting.
Yeah.
Um, which is why that community piece is so important. because sometimes we're trying to go it alone,
Mm-hmm.
especially those of us that, we want to think we got it all together.
Right.
We kind of go it alone, and there's no, and our view is very skewed,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as for me, my blood pressure was elevated, and I had no clue.
Right.
I had no idea. I never had any symptoms that I was aware of.
Right.
So even after 2 trips to the ER, and them asking, are you on a hypertension regimen? And how
Mm-hmm.
long has your blood pressure been high? And my statements were, number one, no, I'm not on anything. Number two, to be honest, I really don't know how long my blood pressure has been elevated
Right.
because there are no symptoms.
Right.
So for me to have elevated blood pressure, and not just a few days, but even today, my blood pressure is still high.
Yeah.
And even though my top number is down, my bottom number is still elevated. And even with that, I've never felt bad.
Right.
I've never had the headaches. I've never had they were asking about my vision being blurred. Never had any of those things.
Right.
I honestly only had my blood pressure checked to prove my family wrong and prove to them I was okay, to then find out I wasn't. But my body, I think, has become so um, conditioned over time to function in this way that I wasn't even able to identify it.
Right. Right.
And so it really takes, number one, um, get your wellness checks,
Yeah.
right? You know, listen, none of us are beyond that. Get your wellness checks. Do not skip them.
Right.
Like on Monopoly, don't pass go. Like, you really, because we think, because we look like we're in good health,
Mhm.
that paints this picture.
Right.
And I personally have been baffled
Mm-hmm.
with, thinking like, wow, how did I get high blood pressure? Right? To me, I'm living my best life in these streets.
Yeah.
Obviously not,
Yeah.
right? We're not a fast food, fried food, rice and gravy kind of family over here.
Yeah.
So in theory, we're doing the right things.
Mm-hmm.
However, and this is something that I was sharing on that podcast episode, after I found out that my blood pressure was elevated, in just the scare of it all, and then having several family members and friends to say, hey, you got to get this under control. um,
Mm-hmm.
I went and had I did a wellness check, but I did one in which they completed a body analysis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is where they're not only just telling you how much you weigh, but it's basically it's weighing your organs, and it tells you how much visceral fat you have. It tells you the number of organs and glands you have that are stressed.
Right.
And ironically, the gland of mine that was most stressed is related to my emotions.
Mm.
And think about it, right? I do
Yeah.
emotions all day.
Right.
That's a world I live in. I'm empathic. I'm empathic by nature. So I think I have learned to ingest those emotions, but
Absolutely.
but my body has it wears on my body,
Absolutely.
right? So it just kind of really goes to show that there's no one way
Mm-mm.
that we get hypertension. I thought because we eat decent, we go to the gym, surely we will never have these issues. And it's just not the case. So there are so many different ways. So we can't ignore any part of it.
Right. Right.
Can't ignore any part of it.
You're absolutely right. And kudos to you for just like you said, bringing your village on, doing
Mhm.
the best that you can to navigate it. But your story, my story, is the exact reason why I created the legacy program. And it's because of what you just said. There is no one way. Like, all of us can be impacted so differently.
Mhm.
And what I've experienced is that it can be a really difficult, way to navigate, especially when current system, is set up to where we don't get a ton of time to discuss and go through and talk through what is happening so that we can actually get to the root of it all. So,
Right. And I
um,
didn't have that done with a primary care physician. You
yeah.
know, I've again, I definitely believe in integrated behavioral health.
Hmm.
Um, but I so do not want to be on medication. So I was looking for more of a holistic approach, right? And so there's a place here that is more of a wellness center
Hmm.
that I visited to have them complete that body analysis scan, um, as well as the next part of it. I was trying to look through my actual paperwork because I saw that someone was asking the name of it, but I cannot remember the actual the actual name of it. But if I do, I'll send it to you, Dr. Allen. And
Yeah, yeah, you can drop it in. You can
yeah,
drop it in the comments here for sure.
okay,
And it looks like that's on Facebook. So, if we get that information, we'll definitely share it with you. So yeah, it's been amazing. And like I said before, if you guys are interested in the legacy program, it's a program that is a comprehensive, a 90-day program that basically starts from the head to the toes and does an analysis around your presentation and the goal. Like for myself and hundreds of patients that I've helped support, is to get you a plan that's not just an acute one, but one that you can live with, one where you're going to be living optimally and on less medication as possible. So, if you're interested in that, check out the legacy program at drmicaallen.com. And I will be back here in a couple weeks with another special guest, and we'll be talking about another fantastic subject matter related to high blood pressure. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Mel, thank you for joining me. And you guys make sure you go and check out Mel on all of her socials. Check out Trashed It. Yeah, it's been great.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and I will look forward to coming back on again.
All right, awesome. Take care.
See ya.
All right, bye bye.